What if I told you that the greatest financial betrayal in modern history is already underway? That a secret pact forged in the highest echelons of power has set the stage for a global monetary reset in 2026? A reset designed with one purpose: to crown gold as the undisputed king, and in the process, to systematically erase the monetary value of silver, potentially wiping out millions of investors. This isn't a market crash we're talking about. This is a planned demolition. And the most shocking part? You've been deliberately kept in the dark. Welcome to the Silent Ledger, where we uncover the stories the mainstream financial world refuses to tell. Today we are pulling back the curtain on what might be Donald Trump's most controversial and hidden legacy. A secret gold pact that could completely decouple silver from its historical role as money. If you have even a single ounce of silver, you need to hear this. The information I'm about to share is vital. So if you believe in protecting your wealth with real knowledge, take 1 second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It tells the algorithm that this is a story that needs to be heard, and it ensures you won't miss our future investigations. Now let's get into it, because the clock is ticking. The story begins not in a public forum or a press conference, but in the quiet back-channel conversations that truly shape global policy. During his presidency, sources suggest that Donald Trump wasn't just focused on trade wars and public rallies. Behind the scenes, a far bigger game was being played. He and his financial advisors understood a fundamental truth. The US dollar's reign as the world's reserve currency was on borrowed time. The national debt was spiraling out of control, and confidence was beginning to fracture. The system needed a new anchor, a hard asset that couldn't be printed into oblivion. The only candidate for that job was gold. The theory goes that Trump's team initiated clandestine discussions with other major world powers, not just allies but rivals like China and Russia. The proposal was radical, a coordinated, gradual return to a system where gold sits at the very center. Not an official gold standard like in the old days, but a new framework where gold would become the ultimate benchmark for value, the Tier 1 asset against which all other currencies and assets would eventually be repriced. This wasn't about patriotism. It was about pragmatism. It was a plan to manage the inevitable decline of the fiat system, and to ensure the United States maintained a dominant position in the new order that would follow. Think of it as a controlled demolition of the old financial house to build a new one on a foundation of gold. Of course, such a plan could never be made public. It would trigger immediate global panic. So, it was executed in silence, through the one language that all central banks understand: physical acquisition. This explains the unprecedented and relentless buying of gold by central banks around the world over the past decade. The World Gold Council's data isn't just a spreadsheet. It's a confirmation. Countries like China, Russia, Turkey, and India have been stacking tons of physical gold, draining it from Western vaults. They aren't just diversifying their portfolios. They are hoarding the one asset they know will be money when the music stops. They are front-running the 2026 reset. So what exactly is this reset scheduled for 2026? It is the projected date when the debt-to-GDP ratio of major economies becomes so extreme that the system can no longer function. Interest payments will consume the entire national budget. It's a mathematical certainty. The reset is the proposed solution. A global conference, a modern-day Bretton Woods, where the world's financial leaders will announce a revaluation. They will reprice their currencies against their official gold holdings. The US, with the world's largest declared gold reserve, would theoretically be in a powerful position. The dollar would be devalued, yes, but in a controlled way, allowing the nation's debt to be manageable again. In this scenario, the price of gold wouldn't just double or triple. It would have to soar to a figure like $20,000, $30,000, or even $50,000 an ounce to balance the gargantuan global balance sheets. For those holding physical gold, it would be the single greatest wealth transfer event of their lifetime. But this brings us to the most crucial and terrifying part of this entire plan, the part that no one is talking about. Here at the Silent Ledger, we ask the tough questions. And the biggest question is this: if gold is chosen to be the sun in this new financial solar system, what happens to the moon? What happens to silver? For our entire lives, we've been taught that silver is gold's partner, that the gold to silver ratio is a law of nature that must eventually revert to its historical mean. We bought silver believing it was a leverage play on gold, that when gold finally exploded, silver would launch into the stratosphere right alongside it. But what if that is the great deception? What if the architects of this new system, in their secret pact, made a calculated decision to permanently sever that link? What if they decided that in the new monetary order, there would only be one king? In this scenario, gold is officially remonetized. It becomes the world's primary risk-free asset, the ultimate store of value. And silver? Silver is officially cast out. It's stripped of its monetary status and formally classified as nothing more than an industrial commodity. Its price would no longer be driven by safe haven demand or its history as money. Instead, its value would be tied completely to industrial consumption, fluctuating with the whims of the manufacturing and tech sectors. Think about the implications. The very foundation of the silver investment thesis would be vaporized. That monetary premium, that belief that gives silver its underlying price floor, would be gone. While gold holders would see their wealth multiply by a factor of 10 or 20, silver holders could be left holding a metal whose price barely moves, or worse, collapses as the monetary buyers flee the market, leaving only industrial users behind. This is the erasure the title of this video warns about. A world where gold is money and silver is just the stuff. The evidence for this great decoupling is hiding in plain sight. You just have to know where to look. Take the Basel III banking regulations. These are the global rules that govern how banks manage their risk. In a quiet update that went largely unnoticed by the public, regulators reclassified physical gold held by banks as a Tier 1 asset. This is the highest level of financial safety, putting gold on the exact same footing as cash and government bonds. It was a monumental shift, officially recognizing gold as a risk-free monetary asset. And what about silver? Nothing. It received no such upgrade. It was left behind, still considered a riskier commodity. This wasn't an oversight. This was a deliberate signal from the very top of the financial pyramid. They were drawing a clear line in the sand, separating the future of money from everything else. This isn't to say silver has no value. Its industrial demand is undeniable, especially with the explosion of solar panels, electric vehicles, and AI data centers. But that's the point. The powers that be are happy for you to think of silver as a great industrial metal. They want to divert the safe haven demand toward gold, which they can more easily control and accumulate within the central banking system. They want a simple, clean reset, and having two monetary metals just complicates the equation. By downgrading silver to a mere commodity, they streamline the entire process. The trap is that many investors will see the booming industrial demand and believe it's enough to send silver to the moon. But can industrial demand alone support a price of $100, $200, or $500 an ounce? Without the monetary demand, without the belief that it is real money, that becomes a far, far more difficult proposition. So what is the takeaway from all of this? This is not financial advice, and it is certainly not a call to panic and sell your silver stack. The purpose of the silent ledger is to empower you with information so you can make smarter strategic decisions. The first step is to adjust your perspective. Stop thinking of gold and silver as a team. Instead, view them as two separate assets with potentially two very different futures. Gold may be your ultimate monetary insurance, your protection against systemic collapse. Silver may be your bet on future industrial and technological growth. They are not the same thing, and your portfolio allocation should reflect that new reality. Watch what the central banks do, not what their leaders say. Their actions, relentlessly stacking gold and quietly sidelining silver in the regulatory framework, speak louder than any press release. This is a pivotal moment in financial history, and the rules of the game are being rewritten right before our eyes. It's a complex and unfolding story, and we want to know your take. Do you believe silver will be cast aside in a global reset, or will its historical monetary role prove impossible to erase? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you found this investigation valuable, please share this video with someone you know who is trying to navigate these uncertain times. It's more important than ever that this information gets out. Thank you for joining us on The Silent Ledger. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and always question the official narrative. In our next video, we will expose the one country that is quietly preparing a massive challenge to this gold-centric reset. A move that could change everything once again. You won't want to miss it.